So histograms, I put some code on the previous notebook as well for us how to do histograms, and there's a cool code here that way you can get the subplots working, and they have it in 2x2, and I thought we could do 2x2, but the problem is when we're using the subplot, they share the x-axis. So if the x-axis is too different, it doesn't make sense to put in the subplot like this. So I thought something interesting just so we could get a practice with these tools is to get maybe a histogram of median household income and taxes per GDP. I noticed that there were similar measures, but remember we have to like think about how to interpret this taxes per GDP. And I wanted to see essentially if these are normally distributed across the states. And median household income almost would seem normally distributed if we had more distribution on the left side here, but actually kind of makes sense, and it's even good that there's not that many household incomes with income around 30 or 40,000. You see how it kind of breaks? Now, I don't know why this is, because maybe there should be a median household income that is lower, but because we're talking about a whole state and the median of the state is usually not going to get that low. Like there could be people that have a household income that is only 20, here's 30,000. So there's people in, Mississippi that have household income that is 20,000, all the way down here. However, the median is not that low. So the lowest median we have is about 45. So we cannot, it's kind of, we actually don't see a really normal distribution here on the median household income, but we actually do see for taxes per GDP, which is interesting. And if we remember, because it's normally distributed, then we can make certain assumptions about the kind of statistical tests that we can do with this data. And also to understand how it is, how this is the distribution. So some people are in the low end, some people are in the middle, some people are in the higher end. And maybe depending on your context, you may say, okay, that's a good thing. That's what we want to achieve. We don't want everybody in the low end, right? And we don't want everybody maybe on the top end. I guess it could be nice if everybody's on the top end, but at least we don't want everybody on the low end. So here's some of the code on how to do the histogram. We're actually creating a figure object with two parts from this web subplot object with two parts, and then we create these axes. So these are kind of like empty over here, and I just have a list, and then I'm just filling them up with the hist. Hist is the histogram function, and then I'm just giving it a column. All the histogram needs is a column, and then here's just some formatting for the title. And then you can actually create also a 4x4. It's kind of cool. You might want to try it. Next, correlation matrix. So about the correlation matrix, it's very simple correlation matrix function that you apply to the data frame, and it gets the correlation of every numeric variable automatically. Now, this one doesn't have significance values, but I'm going to give bonus points if you can find a full matrix correlation data frame with significance values. And you can look in it's good to look in the documentation to see these are probably is Pearson correlation, I'm guessing. Is usually the standard. Now, lastly, let's talk about the map visualization. This is a little bit complicated, but it's not that complicated. Make sure you have these items installed, and I commented them out because I already installed them, but if you don't install them, the exclamation pip is the way to install them via the Jupyter Notebook. We're going to need this JSON file. Make sure you get it. If I don't upload it, if you don't find it, ask it, or make sure you get this JSON file, because we need to load that into the map function. Here, I'm just checking once again, making sure my data frame has all the columns that I need. But actually, I have an extra one DC, and I wasn't sure where DC was going to go, so I created another data frame just without DC. We can kind of do it like this. It's kind of the data frame and then the data frame, but without DC. That's how we filter data frames. We also see this kind of code a lot. And we can do different things. For example, if we wanted to do just get all the things, all the states that have population greater than 100,000 or something. We're working with the numbers, so we remove the quotes, something like this. This is how we filter data frames into new data frames. We're not going to run this. It's not appropriate here, but that's how it works. And here is the code to get the map going. And the main function is this one here, the px.choropleth. The px is this px object from Plotly Express, and that has a choropleth. That's the kind of map we're going to be using. All kinds of parameters here. This domain is the data frame, then the JSON file I mentioned about. Then we have the state code is the variable in the data frame that we need to send to the function so it knows which state goes with what. Here, this location mode is something from the data frame needs to know it. This is US states, color, what is the the main field that we're going to be coloring by. So it's the measure that we want to be highlighting with the colors. The kind of coloring, sunset. The sunset is the one I have here. I don't really like it. I think you should try a different one. Hover name, because this is an interactive map, information will come up once you hover over it. Obviously, if you print a static image, this won't be there, but it's here. Scope USA, just keep it because that's something about the map parameter that needs that. The range of the color. So the range of the color should be based on the range of your data. So if we're going to map we're not mapping 220 population, we're mapping total taxes. So it's good to go look at the description. What is the total taxes? Total taxes minimum is about 1 million to I think 1 billion or something. So make sure you get those numbers there and you put the range correctly here to make it nice and fit. And then just a title for the map. Here are some additional adjustments. You can remove this code and see what happens without it. The legend gets very big. It's not good. And here is some text, some code for putting the actual text on top, these numbers here on top of each state. And you can play around with it too. Maybe if you want to put the state code, the state abbreviation there instead. Also, when you hover over it, you get some additional dynamic information. Note also this, you have to have this online. Your computer has to be online for this map to work. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. I realized because my computer was not online. So this is the final output. You can save it. There's different ways to save it, but actually, if you're using the code I have here, you can just use the download plot as PNG. You can save it this way. You can figure out other ways to save it as well. And here's on the map and the data visualization. I hope this gets you through, gets you going, and I'll see you next time.